We're coming out dangerous.
Rockets going off.
Sometimes the brightest stars shine for the shortest amount of time.
Yeah, oh yeah.
They heard us all across Tallahassee after that one.
We got to bring home the W.
Oh, yeah. We're going to destroy them.
Put them on the Heisman watch.
They're fine, man.
Big Ben Player of the Year.
We're going to be a force to be reckoned with.
I've played a little adult league goalie.
I felt like I scored in the World Cup, but I didn't even score.
Controversy? Question mark?
Pure chaos.
To go crazy was insane.
Chris Petley, he was the defensive MVP of the 2019 season.
Oh yeah, no, I'm in my prime right now. Let's go.
Alrighty, and welcome aboard here. Welcome aboard. TSCTP Talk Podcast. My name is Andrew Jupe. Of course, you know Trent Young in studio here today. How are we doing today, my man?
Excellent. We had a big weekend of a lot of games in the Gulf Coast, Sunshine, Beach, Breeze,
Orange Blossom
League. Yeah, but really exciting game in Tallahassee. We're about to unpack here in a little bit. But how are you today, Jupe?
Absolutely ready to get after it, of course. Like you said, coming off the game last night, still fresh in our minds. The old 1-1 draw to bring us over to 1-0-1 here, Trent. So still undefeated, but fell off of that 3 points per game that we were going strong here as we had the draw, as you can see there, versus Columbus United. So, of course, we had the match last night. Trent, where should we start this thing? You want to start zoomed in, kind of into the TSC realm, or you want to take the league as a whole, and then we can kind of break down and slice it off like a pizza? We have our Gulf Coast Sunshine pizza, and then we just get that good, meaty TSC slice.
Or maybe we could start with a personal pan and just talk about TSC.
Okay. Well, there you go. All right. Well, fair enough. So we going to the tape? Are we talking tape right now? Trent, we're less than 2 minutes into this thing. We're less than 90 seconds in. Are we going to the tape already?
Let's do it. Why not?
All right. Let's bring it
what
up.
they came here for.
You know, of course, not known for my production prowess, so bear with us here momentarily. Shabam. As we go here, we got the old full screen ready to rock and roll. Here, I believe, is I want to have that full screen upon us, and it looks like we do. So, off and rolling. So, Trent, set up here. This is 9th minute. So, what are we seeing here in kind of this segment, kind of this early in the game?
TSC pushing the ball into the attacking third. We see a big switch and some really incredible passing, really quick passing in the box that leads to an incredible shot.
Absolutely. This is one of my kind of favorite early moments. So TSC on top of it, right? Pressing early, and kind of the sequence gets going for us here. So it really comes out of nothing. Stewart, Fontanelli, all the way across. Good spacing here for TSC. How about this ball? Woo, Leva. Warren. Fontanelli. And then Azar. Beautiful little rip there, Trent. So one of the best offensive looks, I thought, in kind of my opinion here, for that we had going for TSC early in that match. But a good opportunity there here for the boys to get going. As we kind of progress through. Had some offensive threats here in the first half, but of course, kind of got to, once again, a little bit of a deadlock here at the halftime. So we go into the break, which I'm hoping is not going to be our thing, Trent, as we go into halftimes with a 0-0 draw with these teams. But right now, we've had 2 games and it's happened twice. So small sample size. We know that how that usually plays out, but concerned, question mark?
We've got 4 points off of those 2 matches, and I'd rather be tied at 0-0 than down a goal, as we've seen in years past at times, going into the half down 1 or 2. So I'll take it. A fresh start at the second half. So
absolutely. But we did have a breakthrough, Trent, and so I think a lot of the game was kind of jostling back and forth. To me, it was largely controlled by TSC. And just kind of waiting for the breakthrough. We saw throughout the game, though, Columbus had a number of kind of counterattacking opportunities. They did show some dangerous signs of being capable to go get after it. And that's something that we kind of talked about during the broadcast. It was a little concerning and a little kind of uneasy, at least for me. I was feeling it throughout the game, really from kind of that 25th minute onward. of, they look a dangerous squad, and it had like one of those New Orleans games that we've seen at the Gene the last 2 or 3 years, or even on the road. It just had that New Orleans feel to it. And we saw maybe they are like a carbon copy of New Orleans here, Trent. They went out and tied New Orleans, so who knows what kind of this Columbus situation brings to the table. But yeah, we had a little sequence going here in just about the 80th minute, Trent, and kind of set the table for us what we have going on.
So ball's being pushed down into the attacking third again. Audie Jepson takes it on the dribble. There's a little contact. There's a delayed foul call. The ref went ahead and played advantage. He played the ball through to Mo, who ended up being offsides, but they were able to pull the ball back, award the foul. Excuse me. And so then we have a free kick right there at the top of the box in the last third of the game. So one of our best goal scoring chances, probably the second best other than that Diego play we saw earlier.
So here's a kind of knockabout here for Columbus. Ooh, there's that little advancing ball here. So Mo was offside, kind of as we made the point too, and so they had the flag up. But of course, they were playing advantage off ahead of that, Trent. So, of course, we're going to go through, blah, 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 mark off the spot. So what do you think of the conversation here as far as it was kind of going down here as we kind of have Fontanelli and Jepson interactions over the top of it? Any doubt here of where it was going, or do you think any kind of trickeration was here? Because we see Vivas up top at kind of that 15-yard line of the football field. Then he goes up to the 18-yard box.
So, I mean, and somebody was going to take it direct. You've got to take a shot on goal here. I just didn't know who it was going to be, and we're about to find out who it was, I guess.
There you go. So you have, of course, Fontanelli's kind of on the right. You can see the ref is covering up the ball right here. That's Sasanka. He's kind of in this rebound zone. Jepson all the way. He's kind of on the 19 and 20-yard line, you can see, and then it's Fontanelli over the top here. So at this standpoint, theoretically, either player has a shot at it. You see the 5-man wall. Keeper's trying to get that set up. And here we go, Trent.
Clinical.
And how about the celebration, the celebration mirroring right here? That was my favorite part. So obviously the goal was nasty here. Let's go one more time. 5-man wall. Everybody protect their nose. Keeper's like, all right, he's definitely not going front post. Oh, but wait, he is though.
Yeah.
And then watch the Sasanka. He does the fly, does the ears, does the fly with them. I love that. Getting absolutely juiced. You see the power here. Look at Sloan. Our boy Tyler Sloan.
Ultimate hype man.
Yeah. And then Stewart's going in here. That's the same reaction Stewart had last week. There's your boy Troy Smith. He's getting into it. He may or may not be concussed at that point. Bruno's pumped. Sasanka pumping up the crowd. And then it's like, here we go. But then kind of danger was looming as I thought, kind of watching back, I saw this live, and you see right here, kind of this center of the screen, that after we zoom out, coming out of the celebrations, obviously, here's the gang once again. Everybody in on that. Here comes Vivas. Coach Thompson's pumped up there. Otis, Coach Joel. Here you go. There's Jared, J5. And then right here, this guy locked in, that striker. It was like a raven flying into the scene here, Trent. A warning of danger, as it were, which it ultimately kind of turned out to be. Is, we only have to go a couple minutes back here, not even 3 minutes here to this standpoint, as we had a little free kick, and this will kind of give us some time to set it up. But TSC having a little possession here, Trent.
Yeah, kicking the ball about after the free kick, sending it back to the back line, repositioning the attack, and drop it all the way back to Gonzalez, which, I mean, he's got a great leg, as we're about to see here. He really gets behind this one, and this is late in the match too.
Yeah, only 10 minutes to go ish with the stoppage time. So TSC, a little aggression here. Big slide by Columbus, and then boom, get it out to the perimeter. And so you can start to see kind of the buildup going here for Columbus. Slowing this one, because this all kind of happens real fast. Yeah. So you'll probably see the settings here. So not the cleanest production-wise. A little bit of a heavy touch, but once they get to the back line, boom. Long ball over the top. They were always thinking kind of verticality, always thinking counterattack, which we saw in large portions. And then here you go, Trent. This was gutting right here. Beautiful delivery there from the visitors. This is a tough sequence. This is one-on-one into awkward positioning. Goes in. Beats him over on the far side. So that takes to 1-1. And no real chances late. Had a couple half chances there, Trent, but ultimately ended up getting the level, the 1-1 here, and finalizing with the draw. So how does that sit with you? 1-1 draw based on what you saw. Obviously, you want to win all the games, right? You want to win at home. You want to defend the gene. But where did that sit with you in the moment?
I mean, it was tough to swallow. We were only up for 3 minutes, right? But it took 70-plus minutes to get that goal finally, and it was a real testament to the boys' commitment and their hard work all night long. And they're finally awarded with it, and then I don't want to say, took their foot off the gas a little bit, but, just kind of exhaled a little bit, and, they were proud of themselves for a brief moment. And, just like that on the flip of a switch, Columbus goes on the counterattack. For Columbus just cuts it back in and goes against his momentum and one-on-one with Gonzalez. And we slowed it down real slow. Like Gonzalez is very close to getting a finger or two on it, almost gets a save. So, but to answer your question, it stinks we didn't get the win at home, but we're still tied for points points per match. We are tied with Pensacola currently, and we're in second place behind on goal differential. So, I can't be too mad at the boys on that one.
Yeah. Okay. So even pegging, I felt with the game flow, it felt right. I think we outplayed them. So from that standpoint, would have liked to win, but realistically, they had an opportunity to show dangerous. They hit the bar, or they hit the post, earlier in the match. Yep. There was a couple of opportunities on the counterattack where they showed that they were dangerous, and we tried to kind of paint that scene for you, and then just kind of letting them hang around. Soccer's a cruel game sometime. They just got stuck in a counterattack. TSC was stretched. They were able to execute. Boom. And then there you go. All they needed was one. Needed one to steal a couple points, and that's what they did. And so they were able to go forward. So TSC gets the one by the draw. Still undefeated, though. We can bring that back up. Shabam, of course, like you said, tied atop the table. So are we trying to get into some of this table talk here, Trent?
Let's do it.
As you brought it up, let's contextualize that for the people. So this is pre-Saturday. So we went into the match, of course, with the top of the table. We only played one match, but we got the win, right? So we were talking about that column all the way to the right. Well, I guess all the way to this way. So as I'm reversed on the screen, I'm trying to do some theatrics here. But anyways, all the way on that right-hand column, you can see it, but we'd only play the one match. So, of course, had some results that were varied here, as this was the weekend results, as we can lose this, of what we saw here. So you saw a little bit of a change. You can see us in the middle with that 1-1 draw. Naples 3-0 over Jacksonville. And then we saw New Orleans drop to Pensacola at home. And then, of course, Miami getting their first points of the season. So every team in the league now with points, Trent, as they go forward. So after those results from Saturday, this is how your table has changed after this weekend. So this is the most up-to-date table. If you look at the league website, it is not up to date because there are a couple games that have not been reported. So I don't want to say that we're better than the NPSL, but our information is more accurate. So take that as you will. This is the most up-to-date table here going for you. We talked about it. Pensacola number 1, us number 2, solely based off goal differential because of that Global Soccer Pathways game where they won 7-0 and we do not play them. They will, of course, be playing them again. And so we'll see how that game goes down in South Florida. But, of course, that's to be addressed later on. Big picture, any surprises, thoughts on the table so far?
I mean, dude, we've seen Jacksonville come out on top of this league and be on top throughout every season just about since we've been here the last 4 years. And so to see them down in 5th is crazy. I mean, it's still early in the season, but, they've got 5 matches played. We've only got 2 matches played. So, after 3 more matches, who knows if we'll still be in second. But, after 2, very pumped that we're up there with Pensacola. So Obviously, that 8-5-0 Cup match is going to be a big one whenever we play them. But Miami Dutch Lions as well, kind of a shocker. I think we both thought that Naples was going to be in the top 2 or 3, but pretty excited to see them in the top 4 early on.
Yeah, absolutely. So, of course, this is weighted based on matches played, but that's the kind of situation that we're at. You think about games in hand. So, points per match, sometimes deceiving, sometimes accurate. But as it stands right now, to your point, it's going to set up a huge 8-5-0 Cup match on Wednesday. So, depending on when you're listening to this could be more timely than not. But on May 29th, TSC headed out to Pensacola, first 8-5-0 Cup installment between number 1 and number 2 in the table. So that's going to be huge, not only, of course, for the rivalry trophy, as TSC still trying to chase the elusive one, is kind of becoming my favorite terminology for the 8-5-0 Cup, as it has seemingly been more elusive each year that we go into it. But we're going to be battling for that here, our rivalry here for our fellow 850 brethren here, the area code, of course, for the Tallahassee area and Florida's Panhandle, for those who don't know. And so we'll be battling out, and there is an actual cup. It's not just something that was fabricated and we're trying to throw out some propaganda. While we will be throwing out some propaganda because it's what we do, Trent.
I was going to say that's how it started.
Yeah, basically it's how it started between the supporters group, and then they're like, you know what? We've been messing around. Why don't we actually do that? And so they did, and here we are. But Pensacola currently in possession, 3-time champs here for that, and trying to get back at that action. So we'll see how that goes. Rest of the table, yeah, I thought there was some good points here. I'm interested to see how things go. The East, I don't understand the East. It is very confusing to me. I think the Wild West here, when you talk about the divisional or sub-conference breakdown, whatever you want to term it, Pensacola, Tallahassee, New Orleans, Columbus, anybody's shot right now. It is really wild to see. And I think Columbus kind of is going to get a bad rap for having only 2 points, but they've played their first 3 games all on the road, at New Orleans, at Pensacola, at Tallahassee. So as far as that concerned, the .666 points per game doesn't look too hot. But you think about it, the old adage is win at home, draw on the road. They drew on the road 2 out of 3 times, and they only lost the other game 1-0. So they've been right there every single match. So I expect them to go up. But to me, I think it's anybody's game. I could see any 4 of the Western teams going 1 through 4 at that standpoint for me. And we'll see what the heck happens over in the East. I don't know what's going on over there.
They don't either, dude.
So that's the table talk. Here are the recent results. Any surprises, any big takeaways from Thursday, Friday, Saturday? These are counting those games, the week, which is technically phrased as match week 4, here the week of 5/20. Any surprises, anything in these matchups, Trent?
I mean, yeah, dude. Elephant in the room, Jacksonville losing twice.
Oof.
I mean, Jacksonville doesn't lose, and then they do it twice in 3 days. It's just incredible. So we heard that they didn't have their A game, or their A team, I should say. They had, a few players called up from the reserves and stuff. So not the greatest representation of them. We know that they're a good team, but that's just crazy. I still can't believe that. And Pensacola looking strong, getting the win over New Orleans on the road. So that'll be a tough one on the road for the boys this week on Wednesday.
Yeah, absolutely. So they went in there and took it, did Pensacola. So, of course, getting their points per match up to that 2.0. Top of the table. Been a minute since we've seen Pensacola top of the table here. But going forward, and here's kind of that that you alluded to, Trent. So we know Jacksonville, obviously, pedigree last 3 or 4 years, been really successful. Came out hot, kind of as we expected. The graphic's wrong there. It's actually win-win tie. But taking care of Naples, who we thought Naples was probably second best, if not third best, if not the best team in the conference from what we've seen in regional play once they get to the league playoffs, that we would kind of cross conferences. Our teams, Jacksonville and Southern States at the time, rest in peace, would go ahead and face off against them. And they would usually put up a really good fight. And so, but then the global game, 8-0 was jarring. And I think our eyes were open to some of the things going down there in Naples. And then the 1-1 tie, okay, the team kind of bounced back. They learned from the previous game. We see that. But then you go into the road trip down in Naples, the 2-1 loss to Global Pathways, like you said, opened your eyes. And then on top of that, 3-0 to Naples right now. And that's why you see them kind of in that 5 slot that we talked about, Trent. So win-win tie, loss. As you kind of see the trajectory, if you're kind of mapping that from a graph standpoint, win, tie, the crest, lost. Sell moment here for Jacksonville. Are they at risk, Trent, at missing the playoffs at this standpoint going forward?
I mean, absolutely. They've already played 5 matches. So, that's tough. They've only got a handful left in the season. So, I mean, it's not impossible for them to still make it, but it's definitely going to be a lot harder. And, just the juxtaposition between the 8-0 win at home and the 2-1 defeat on the road with GSP, I mean, it's, like 2 weeks apart. That's just crazy, dude.
Yeah, wild. So we'll see as we kind of unpack that a little more. And once again, it was a win-win tie, loss over in the left. But you see it 8-0 from Jacksonville, 7-0 from Pensacola. So we're like, what's global soccer doing in here? This is like a GCPL or GCPL2 team in this league. And maybe everybody kind of thought that. Then all of a sudden, a jarring result. I don't know who caught that or how much of the league that got around to since it was a Thursday night. But the 2-1 result, I heard it was really chaotic down there. I know you talked about it, Trent.
Each team got a red.
Yeah,
lots of yellows.
We're playing a little 10-on-10, and then you said something about the power situation going on there.
They turned the lights off at 10:17, and there was still okay. So initially they called the game.
Okay.
And there was supposed to be 6 minutes of stoppage time. Jax is complaining. I could hear through the camera that wasn't 6 minutes.
Yeah.
So after deliberating for about 5 minutes, they bring the boys back on the pitch for about 2 to 3 more minutes of gameplay, and then boom, lights go off. And
whoops,
2-1 final. That's it.
Forgot to pay the power bill, I guess, but able to get it back up. Maybe somebody made a phone call to Comcast or whoever's their cable provider down there. But interesting, and then kind of coming off of that, so GSP with a huge win, and I say this not hyperbole, Trent. I think that was massive. We wondered, and I was honestly starting to wonder, I was like, is GSP going to score this year after the 8-0, after the 7-0? I just felt like everybody was just going to house them. I was like, is Global going to score this year? And then huge 2-1 result, but then interesting follow-up, which is why we kind of talked about who knows what's going on in the East, falling to Miami 3-1. Thoughts on that match yesterday, if you're listening to this on Sunday?
It's just, so how are you going to go out and beat Jacksonville 2-1 and then fall at home? Both of these matches at home for GSP and then fall 1-3. It just doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. They are a total enigma as a club. But yeah, I mean, you and I were talking about it after those first 2 matches. They're down 15 goal differential. Like, I mean, this is going to sound harsh, but I remember asking you, like, why did they even pay the league dues to join the league? Like they're just going to get skunked every game. And then they come and win against Jacksonville. And I guess that was just an outlier because then they're losing to Miami again. So I don't know, man. I do not understand the East whatsoever.
But it was competitive. I mean, it wasn't 6-0 to Miami. It's 3-1. And we've seen a lot of 3-1 score lines over the years. So I'll give them credit there. For better or for worse, it was a competitive match at least, kind of going forward. So kind of turning the page. Still a lot of TSC games left. We talk about Jacksonville being halfway home, but TSC still got these 3 home games here going on for you. The future lies ahead. Of course, you can't forget about the conference game that we have going on. 850 Cup is upon us here going forward just on Wednesday, this big game. So it'll be a little bit before the boys come back around in town. 2 away games here to take care of business, starting off New Orleans on Saturday and, of course, the Wednesday. 850 Cup, Trent, but that's pretty much the hot ticket. Not too much that we were kind of going on. Anything we want to add or on the periphery? Maybe some shout-outs from the play, maybe some other things kind of rattle around in your mind that you feel like this is the forum, like, hey, let's talk about this, unpack this a little more?
Yeah, we had a couple player interactions after the game last night, which, we're usually busy breaking down after the game for quite some time, so don't get to run into them a whole lot. They usually break off and go to proof, but got to talk to Trice Smith for a couple minutes and gave me a little bit. I was asking him what he was saying to the ref, and he gave me a little intel there, so that was cool. And then we got to talk to our boy Rafa Alcalaya, and he was cracking some jokes with us, saying that we got to get Jorge Gonzalez in on the Spanish Armada. So
Yes, of course, Jorge from the capital of Spain. And so, yeah, we got to get that updated graphic. So, lo siento, Jorge, we will get you up there. We know I'm not going to say it's the president's fault getting that information over to me, but, some wires were crossed there. So I'll take the blame for that. And I need to update that graphic, but we got you, Jorge. Especially if you're going to be balling out in goal, we need to make sure to get that updated for you. So Rafa, John, Jose, Jorge, get it going. Absolutely. Yeah. Anything else as we put a bow on this one here, Trent? How about a shout out? Give me a player shout out from Saturday, this past match against Columbus. Who you shouting out?
Audie Jepson. That's the best free kick I've seen taken. And we've seen some good ones. That was perfectly placed, dude.
Yeah.
Top bin, over the wall, perfect.
Yeah, that was fun. Absolutely. I'll give my player shout out, Ali Sasanka. I am absolutely all on board the Ali train. That was some fun. I love just his play style and having that aggression, having that composure, having that touch, the facilitation, and just kind of the mentality that brings. As I thought we saw an edgy squad out there. And I mean, you get Coach Thompson into the mix, you get Ali into the mix, and you kind of get some of these that kind of grinder mentality. And I like that kind of blue collar TSC. Kind of takes me back to the old days, Trent.
It feels like that.
You can have a little blue collar, white collar hybrid. I like a nice clean game, but at the same time, I like a little grit to it.
Sometimes you got to roll the sleeves up, and we saw Rafa do that last night, quite literally.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt. So that's all we have here for our Tallahassee talk. Unless I'm cutting you off, Trent, don't let me steal the thunder.
I'm good.
But just wanted to kind of touch base that, a couple shout outs here, a couple context to the league. TSC, let's not sleep on it, tied for first on points per match. Of course, the goal differential has us at second in the table, but don't sleep on it. Your boys are let's get that back up. Don't sleep on it. For the second consecutive, after all the games, after the first game and after the second game, TSC remains in the top two. So let us not forget. But thank you for joining us, however you may do so. Have a great rest of your week. And feel free, come out, get down to the Gene for some of those home games. Still have 3 left. If not, tune into the broadcast for those home games. We'll be back with you here in a couple weeks. But for Andrew Jupe, Trent, and Young, that's all we have for episode 38. Have a great rest of your day.